We're in the tractate Brachot, and we're on page 34A. 34B, I'm sorry, 34B. So it says, Tana Rabbanan, our rabbis learned in a Braita, Elu brachot she'adam shoche behem. These are the blessings that a person bows. Now, during the Shemona Esrei, we bow, right here, we bow 4 times. So we're going to identify what the 4 places are right now. It says, Ba'avot, when it comes to the first blessing of Shemona Esrei, so we bow down. In other words, Baruch Atah Hashem, when you say Baruch, you bend your knees. When you say Atah, you bow. And when you say, before you say Hashem's name, you stand up. You're already standing erect. That's what we're doing. So we do that at the first part of that blessing, and then when we're saying Magen Avraham, the very end of that blessing, so again we bow. We bend and bow.
Baruch Atah.
Baruch Atah, and we come upon Hashem. Right. Bahodah, when it comes to the blessings of Thanksgiving, you'll just share with Leah, Stan? Mm-hmm. Okay?
I'll give it to you.
No,
really, I'm doing
Okay, however you want to do with that. Okay.
Please.
So when it comes to Hodah, when it comes to the Modim, in other words, V'techazin, and so on and so forth, when it comes to Modim Anach that's when you're bowing down, and that's B'techila, and also the end, when you're saying the last blessing for that. Okay? So, Rashi is saying, okay, we didn't get to Rashi yet, fine. Ulachane el hodot, that's the last bracha. So for Sim Shalom, you're not making a blessing. It's only, you're not bowing. It's only Ulachane el hodot, and it's good to give thanks to you. The end of that blessing of Thanksgiving. So it's the beginning and the end. So im ba l'suach besof kol bracha ubracha, if a person comes to bow at the end of every bracha in the Shemona Esrei, b'techilat kol bracha ubracha, or at the beginning of each bracha, malamdim oto shelo yishche. You should teach him, don't berate him, just teach him that he should not bow down all those times, only the 4 times that the rabbis taught us. So why? I'll ask you the question. Why shouldn't I be able to bow down every time? What I'm saying is very nice to say, Baruch, I bow down, I bend my knees. Atah, I bow, I bend over. And before saying Hashem, I am already standing up straight. Why is it only those 4 brachot? Why can't I take it upon myself to submit myself before God? Why can't I do that? Anybody?
Well, my only guess would be for almost the first bracha, because as you talked last night between after Mar, that's where we're starting. That's where we're introducing ourselves and identifying, and that's where the most kavanah is required. So that would seem to be the most important, and then maybe, with the exception of giving thanks, maybe then it becomes superfluous. I don't know. I'm purely guessing.
Okay. Tosfot decide to look at this, and he says like this: if you're going to say if a person bows, what's your problem? There's no problem with bowing, right? He says no. There's those who could say one. The first reason, that one, you should not come to uproot the rabbis' words. The rabbis are the ones who ordained and enacted that we should say these particular brachot, and when we can bow, and when we should bow, and when we should not bow. So if I would decide that, you know what, I'm better than the rabbis, I'm going to bow at every single one of them, so I'm uprooting their words. So that's number one. Shelo yomru kol echad machmir, that they shouldn't say that everybody can be stringent as they want. Kamosha, who wrote that, like they want. And And then they'll say, so there's no tekanos, there's no enactment of the rabbis, and it'll appear as if you're arrogant. So if I would decide, because I want to submit myself to the Lord, blessed be He, and I would start bowing at every one of the brachot, of the 18 brachot of the Shemona Esrei, which the rabbis did not enact or ordain that we should do, it appears that I'm becoming frummer than them. And that's not right. They made it up. They ordained what we should do. So for me to go beyond what they're demanding, it appears arrogant. So we shouldn't do it. That's how it starts out. Okay? Let's go on. Amar Rav Shimon ben Pazi, Amar Rav Yeshua ben Levi, Mishum Bar Kapara. So we have a three-way rabbinical statement going on there. It says, Hediot Kamosha Amru. When it comes to a regular guy, one of us, everybody at this table, we're all Hediot, then we do it exactly what we just learned above. We don't become arrogant, we don't become haughty. What we do is we bow down in only those 4 places. But when it comes to a Kohen Gadol, so if everybody's in the Gemara, you have to turn the page. Okay. When it comes to the Kohen Gadol, Besof kol bracha, he has to genuflect at the end of every bracha. The Kohen Gadol does. Why? So it says kol mashu hu gadol biyoter. So Rashi says anybody who's already has a higher office than somebody else, tzarich lahachnia. So he needs to humble himself. He has to humble himself and show humility more than somebody else. So the higher somebody goes in office, the more arrogant potentially he can become. Oh, by the way, I'll be fair about this. He or she could become, and as a result of that, they need to humble themselves. So when it comes to a regular person, we're already humbled by life. So we follow what the rabbi said, and we simply bow it the 4 times. When it comes to a Kohen Gadol, he is put above everybody else. Even though the Kohanim, he can only marry certain people by the Torah's words. He cannot attend funerals, again, by the Torah's words, not the rabbinic words, but by the rabbis, by the Torah's words. Hashem gave him an elevated office. As a person with an elevated office, he may think to himself, ooh, I'm so good. Yes, the arrogance comes out. And, I was born into this, but God picked me out of everybody else. How wonderful I must be. So as a result of that, the Gemara says, for you, mister, you can bow down. You should bow down every single prayer, every single of the 18 prayers that you say in the Shemona Esrei, because you need to humble yourself more. So we're seeing a very important hashkafa here. The higher I go, the more I have to humble myself, which is why it says a man should marry a woman who is smaller than him. So always marry a shorter woman. You know why? So you have to bend down to listen to what she's saying. You always have to humble yourself. That's what the rabbis say. So I'm a Rav Yitzchak, and now it doesn't always work. So some women are taller than the guys, deal with it. But it's a hashkafa we're giving over. Okay, it's not a straight out rule. So I'm a Rav Yitzchak bar Nachmani. Oh, I missed one. I'm sorry. V'hamelech. But if you're a king, that's already higher than a Kohen Gadol. Okay, why? Because you literally are giving life and death. You have the ability, well, not life, but you do actually have the ability to give life. You can push off the sentence. You can, what do they call it? When the president is leaving and it's not a pardon. Is it a pardon?
Yeah, pardon.
Yeah.
It's just a pardon? Okay. I thought they have sorry?
Or commute.
Yeah, no, this is a total commute. Commute means pardon too?
You wipe it out.
Okay. Yeah, so the president has that power. When he leaves, he can do it any time, but when he leaves his office, suddenly we have a whole bunch of people who are being pardoned left and right. but that's giving life. So also a king certainly has that. He can give life and certainly death. So he's higher than the Kohen Gadol. So what happens with him? The rabbis say that not only at the end of the bracha should he do it, but techila kol bracha o bracha, so kol bracha at the beginning and the end of the bracha. So he should bow. Again, really humble yourself. And Avram Yitzchak bar Nachmani ledidi mefarshli minei to Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, so Rabbi Yitzchak, the son of Nachmani, said, it was explained to me what the statement of Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, and what does it mean? Hedio kamo shamarnu. Again, when it comes to the regular guy out there, it's like we said, they should bow down only during the 4 times. When it comes to the Kohen Gadol, bracha, bracha. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. So when it comes to the Kohen Gadol, at the beginning of every bracha, he has to bow down. HaMelech. When it comes to the king, this is what the whole thing was all about. When it comes to the king, though, kevan shechara, once he bows down, once he genuflects, shuv eno zokev, he shouldn't get up anymore. You shouldn't get up. Once you genuflect, if you're the king, you really need to humble yourself so you don't get up at all. You don't straighten up until he finishes the bracha totally. Shenemar, as it says, Vayiki chalot shlomo t'parel gam b'flei mizbach Hashem mechro al berkav. As it says, it was when Shlomo had finished praying, he arose from before the altar of Hashem, from kneeling on his knees. So from there, you see that he bowed down once, and then at the end, he got up. So during this whole prayer, he was genuflecting, which is total humbling of yourself, because you would think that as a king, I can do what I want. The answer is no. You also have a boss. Unlike, who was it? Truman? Who said the buck stops here? Truman?
Yeah.
Truman. Truman who said the buck stops here, and he felt he's the boss. What the Torah is telling us is, what the rabbis are indicating is, no, even the king isn't the boss. The king is subservient to the King of Kings, and therefore he has to submit himself before such judgment.
Do they get into things like genuflecting, dipping the knees and then bowing from the waist? I think I may have asked this question at one time. Was there ever a time that we did all the time, like we do on Rosh Hashanah and on Kippur, where you kneel down to the floor completely and bow down?
In the temple.
That was always in the base of Mikdash?
Are we talking about during prayer specifically?
Yeah.
So I doubt it was just during prayer, because when we had to go in front of kings and so on and so forth, there was a genuflect. They would also bow down. Ishtachaveh. So I don't think it was just.
We bow down in front of a human being? Yeah.
Well, again, you're not genuflecting like you would to God, but you're already getting down on the knee and so on and so forth. You had that sort of concept. As a matter of fact, we're about to deal with it right now. So it says that you don't have it, you do it, and you do. Okay. So it says, Tanarabana, we're going to get into this whole thing. It says, Kida alapayim. What does it mean when you to bow down on the face? Shneemar Vatiko Batsheva apayim eretz. So it says that Batsheva bowed down on her face to the ground. So Kriya means al berkayim. Kriya, when it says mishtachavim v'korim, we bend our knees, that's going down on the knees. Shneema mechroa al berkav. It says he arose from the altar of Hashem from kneeling on his knees. Hishtachaveh, bowing down, zu pishut yadayim v'raglayim. The word hishtachaveh is defined as extending the hands and legs, prostrating oneself fully on the ground. Shneamar v'havu navo ani v'imcha v'achecha v'shchavo lecha artsa, as it says when Yaakov was talking to Yosef about his dreams. Yosef told Yaakov and the brothers, I had a dream that the sun and the moon and the stars bow down to me. So Yaakov, in a desire to show that every dream is foolishness because the mother was already dead, so he says, should I and your mother, who has already passed away, should that we come down to bow down to you? Hishtachaveh, the word hishtachaveh means full prostration, extending the arms and the legs. There you go. See that?
The most obnoxious thing I've heard. Hello?
Okay.
Hi, Diane.
So that would answer your question. When it comes to hishtachaveh, it means full prostration.
Now that was only in the base of Mikdash, wasn't it?
So the way he's using it here, the way they're saying it is to anybody. So again, if you look throughout the Torah, and any time what the Gemara is saying is there is any time you see the term hishtachaveh, that means total prostration. When you see kriya, it means on the knees. So it's not so much a desecration to God, if you will. If I'm doing this sort of hishtachaveh, if that is what is expected of the role. So when it says, I'll give you an example. In the Torah it says that Avram bowed down to the Amma arts of Chet, the people of the city of Chet. So if I'm following the Gemara, it means he went down fully. And he doesn't just bow like this, by your liege, that sort of thing. So according to the Gemara, it seems that you have two types of things here. Kida, which like it says on the face, Kriya is on the knees, and Hishtachaveh is extending the arms and legs, prostrating one fully on the ground. Take that from where you're going to be. So it was before the Beis HaMikdash, but once I think we got to the Beis HaMikdash, we never did it anywhere else. I think that's how it goes. Okay. Now here, I'm going to give you a slight introduction to this because it's, first of all, it's a long Gemara, but it's also a fun one. We get into this whole concept of praying for people who are sick. And this all comes from the Mishnah. The Mishnah, if you remember, let me just get back to the Mishnah. It said, and we're actually talking about this right here, there's a Mishnah. It says, one who prays and makes a mistake, it's a siman raldo, it's a bad sign for him. You're praying the Shemona Esrei and you make a mistake. If he's the Shalich Tzibor, the cantor, if you will, the messenger for the congregation, siman raldo shlochav. It's a bad sign for the people he's davening on behalf of. Why? Because the messenger of the man is like the man himself. So by the way, this applies very much. If I send you, let's say, he wants to get married. I don't want to impose it on myself. You want to get married, Sadek. So you say to Mr. Orenstein, I need you to go down to Indianapolis. You're a little older, okay? You're not okay, you're a little older. But you don't want to make the trip. So you say to Mr. Arnstein, who's going down to Indianapolis anyway, there's a girl down there that I'd like to marry. Here's my Coke. It's worth a Sheva Pruta, my Coke. Okay? Bring it to the girl and say, I'm giving this to you on behalf of, okay, I can't see what color you are wearing. Avi. Okay, I'm wearing this. You are now here for betrothed to Avi with this Coke. And of course, if the girl accepts it, she accepts it. But he's your messenger. Okay? So what happens is, if she accepts it, guess what? You're married. Okay? Just on that. You send him to do it. That's what it means, shlich kamoto. Okay? And by the way, if you think about it in today's day, lawyer. I hire my lawyer. My lawyer is given full authority. I can give my lawyer full authority to adjudicate the case and not come back to me. This is what I want in the end. If you get this, I'm fine. Or within this role, that's fine. Anything else, no. You know where else you see this? In shuls. I remember this. There was at every Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, many shuls like to auction the aliyot away. They love to auction it away. So what happens? Some people don't want to be part of the auction, but they want the aliyah. So I remember one of my friend's father, came to shul that day, and the chazan, the auctioneer said, "Okay, we're bidding, blah blah blah." Okay, and he says there's an opening bid for whatever the amount was. Good. Somebody bid over it. He said, and he bid one time and the new bid is this. And we're looking, nobody else is bidding, but this guy is bidding against him. And the gabbai was bidding against the person. And the person went up and he said, "Okay, you said that, the new raise is..." And they're looking, what's going on? So I said to him, how did you get the authority to do that sort of thing? Who were you bidding on behalf of? He said, "This guy's father. He told me I can go up to a certain amount. So whatever the bid is, I would go a dollar higher." If he would have hit that threshold, the guy would have said, "Leave me alone. I don't want to have that certain threshold." But that's again where shaliach kamota. So whether or not the guy really wanted to pay what he ended up paying is irrelevant, because you gave him authority to go up to X amount of dollars. So you wanted to pay $18 probably, but he ended up spending maybe $100. Okay, but that's part of the deal. When I make you shaliach, I don't have to go back to you every single time. No? Okay? Okay. So that's what's going on here. So if the shaliach trips up in his prayer, he's praying on our behalf, so it's no good. It's a bad sign for us. That's what the Gemara says. So now, the Mishnah. So now watch what happens. We're going to get into this whole thing. So Amru Alav al Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, they said about Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, Shahayim et Palel ala Cholin. People will come to Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa for the reasons we'll learn, to pray on behalf of sick people. Not necessarily people he knew, but they would pray on him. They would ask to pray. V'omer, and he would say, Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa would say, Zechai, this guy will live, v'zeh and this guy will die. Period. Amru lo, they said to him, how do you know who's going to live and die? Actually, that's not your province. I would just ask you to pray. Okay? So Amr lahem im shagor tefilati b'fi. So he said to them, if the prayer is fluent in my mouth, yodeani shehu mikubal, then I know that it was mikubal, it was accepted. V'im lav yodea ani shehu toref. And if not, if my prayer is not shagor b'piv, if it's not fluent in my mouth, then I know that he is going to be prey for somebody. In other words, God is going to take him away. So that was the opening story. Okay, of that Mishnah. Here you have this person that they go up to him and they say to him, "Please pray on so-and-so's behalf." And he says, "No problem." He starts to pray on the behalf. If it's shagor b'piv, if he comes out nicely, he says the person will live. If not, he will die. By the way, this gets us back to the Shemona Esrei. We start out, Hashem sifatai tiftach ufi yagid ledecha. Hashem, open my lips and let my and let my mouth speak your praises. Why do we start off with that prayer? Because of this very Mishnah. That we're asking Hashem that it should be shagora b'piv, that it should come out nicely, fluently, and therefore it will be acceptable. That's why one of the other reasons, which I didn't address when I was discussing it, but that's one of the other reasons for saying that line at the beginning. Okay. Now back to our Mishnah. Now back to what we're doing. Oh, that was actually in the Mishnah. You actually have that. Okay. So, Ahai. So the Gemara now asks with this. So are you with me, Stan? Okay, so for the other, here, everybody has to turn. You're on 34b2, Stan. or says Gemara. Okay, so it says, Ahai. To an era in which of the blessings does the prayer does the Mishnah refer? So it said, Amar Rav Chia bar Amar Rav Safra. Rav Chia said the name of Rav Safra, Mishum Achad Beit Rabbi, who said the name of one of the scholars of the Rebbe's academy, Ba'avot, the first bracha. The Mishnah refers to an era committed during the recital of the first bracha. That's why it's such again, that blessing is a very big part of it, because it's saying what Hashem is all about, and it's, Rashi says, Tefillah, it's the beginning of the Tefillah, so it's Remesh She'en Chafetz Bo. So it's a hint that this prayer is not favorable to Hashem at this point, because you make a mistake in the very beginning. And the very beginning is when you're identifying who we're speaking to and what our relationship to Hashem is, as we talked about yesterday night at the 2 nights ago already, after the minyan. So it says Ika da Amri, Ika da Matnitin. So there are those who learn Braita. Some taught this in regard to the following Braita: Hamepalel, the one who prays, Tzarech she'ichavena libo b'kulan. He needs to concentrate all his thoughts properly in reciting all of the brachas. But if he can't do all of them, if he can't concentrate when he's reciting all of the prayers, he should at least concentrate on the first one. And again, for the reason that I'm setting the tone. If I can remember who I'm davening to, namely Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu v'Elokei Avotenu, Elokei Avraham, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, I'm remembering all this, Hakel Gadol Yivav V'Nara, the great, awesome, powerful one, and Kel Elyon, supreme God, Konei Hakol, except owns everything. If I really can remember that, concentrate on what I'm saying, and really think about the words, not just run through them, but think about the words, then I'm setting myself up for a good prayer. The odds are that I can keep my concentration longer. But if I can't, at least I know who I'm speaking to. Again, I think once you realize who you're speaking to, then it's going to be very hard to lose your concentration if you really recognize that. And I compare that to any time I'm going on an interview. I know I'm on a show. That's it's interesting that the Reform Synagogue Beth El is having an interim rabbi. They have an interim rabbi. They will be having an interim rabbi, and she's coming in. So it happens. She would like to make it a full-time position, from what I understand.
The current rabbi's
the current rabbi's gone.
Oh.
They don't have anybody right now. So now
that was another female rabbi.
No, there's the first female rabbi they have. Right, but with that's an irrelevant point. What I'm saying is, she now is going to have to be on an interview for 1 year. That's a long interview. I mean, okay, she signed the contract for a year, but really she wants to be a full-timer. So if that's the case, you have 1 year not to make anybody angry. I don't know if that's possible. I really don't. But somebody always gets angry within a year. But imagine that you are on show, on display for a year. Now she'll never see this, so she won't know I'm talking about her. But I don't think she will. Who knows? Maybe she's watching. But imagine that when you go for an interview, when you're in that, it's hard enough when you're going on for a week or for a Shabbat. When I came here for Shabbat, anything I could have done, actually I was here from Wednesday to Sunday, so Thursday to Sunday. I could have done anything to anger the boss, and I wouldn't have received the job. So you're really on display or show, however you want to put it. You're on shpilkas, as you would say. How do you say shpilkas in English? Shpilkas.
You're playing.
You're playing with fire. You're playing with fire, but shpilkas is shpilkas is like thorns or something. I'm on edge. You're on edge, I guess. You would say that in English. You know what I'm saying or not? You never heard the expression?
No.
Really? Well,
The German word?
it must be Yiddish then.
Yeah.
It must be Yiddish.
Maybe it's pronounced differently, but I don't think
That could be. That could be. I may be pronouncing, but I remember my mother saying it. Spilkus. I'll Spilkus. Yeah, but I don't know. Who knows? I'm hearing it from my American Bostonian accent. What do I know? Okay. But it's like on edge. You're on edge for that much time. Okay. But it's that's what we're dealing with. So if I can remember who I'm davening to, and as I have intent at least for the first bracha, so then the odds are I can do it. But so what's happening here is, if I haven't, so he's saying, when we're talking about brachot, it means that I should have it for the at least the first one, not everything. So Amar Rav Chia, Amar Rav Yisafra Mishum Chad Devei Rabbi. So it was in that regard that Rav Chia said the name of Rav Safra, who said the name of one of the scholars of Rabbi's Academy, Ba'avot, that the Breita means that at the very least he must concentrate in the recital of the blessing of the patriarchs. Like I said, it's the main part of it. It also brings down Rav Chaim Soloveitchik distinguishes between two types of concentration: understanding the words, the meaning of the words, although desirable in all blessings, is crucial only in the first blessing. But awareness that one stands before Hashem is basic to prayer. Any blessing that is recited without such awareness has no validity at all. Fine. So now, that is the story, and that's how we get into Rav Chia, and now we're going to hear another part of the story. So, Amra Laval Rabbi Chanina. So the Mishnah said that they said about Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa that he would pray for the sick and would then say who would live and die. Mina Hanimili. Where does he know this? How do we know this? So Amar Rav Yeshua ben Levi, Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said, the Amakra, the verse says, Bore niv sifatayim, shalom, shalom rachok ulakarov, amar Hashem urefativ. See, the pasuk says, he creates utterance of the lips. That's what we know, the movement of the lips has to be fluent. Peace, peace from far and near, and Hashem, said Hashem, and I will heal him. So this is coming from Isaiah, and our scroll explains, and I'll get into the other explanations. The Gemara relates that the word bore to bari, strong or sound, and interprets the verse homiletically to mean that when prayer is sound and sure, then there is surely peace and healing. So that's why they're quoting that verse. Okay, let's go on a little more, because we're not where I want to be yet. So Amar Rav Chia bar Abba Amar Rav Yochanan Kol Hanavim Kulam Nolitabu Ella Lemase Bit. Oops, that's not where we are. Okay, we're going to skip that too. Okay, so we have to go down to Masei Chala. We're going down to, for you guys, so just find it in this. Okay, so you're on 34b4 at this point, Stan. You got it? 34b4, and then it's continuing one of the themes of our Mishnah. Okay? Tana Rabban, the Rabbis taught in the Breita. You have it? 34b4. At the bottom. Okay? So it says, Tana Rabban, our Rabbis taught in the Breita, Maaseh Shechala Beno Shel Rabbi Gamliel. So what's happened? Rabbi Gamliel's son fell ill. Shigar L'Shnei Talmidei Chachamim. So what happened was Rabbi Gamliel sent two scholars to Eitzel Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, to Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, Levakesh alav rachamim, to ask him to daven. Kevan shara'a otam. When Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa saw them, Allah la aliyah ubikesh alav rachamim. He went up to the attic and davened to Hashem. Biririto amar lehem lechu shechalatzatu chama. On coming down from the attic, he said to them, go back to Rabbi Gamliel, for the fever has left him. Okay, that's the best house call in the world. You go to the doctor. It's like when my daughter was sick, And when we say, okay, so we'll go to the doctor. When she gets to the doctor will say, anything wrong? No. I said, see, doc, all I have to do is see you and everything goes away. But that's what happened. He doesn't even go, he doesn't see the patient. He saw the students coming. He davened immediately for Rabbi Gamliel's son, and he comes down, tell him everything's fine. So Amru lo, v'chi navi ata? Are you a prophet? What's going on here? How do you know that his fever left? So Amar lahem, lo navi anochi, lo ben navi anochi. I'm not a navi, and I'm neither the son of a navi. Ela kach mikublani. Rather, I have a tradition. Im shagar tefilati b'fi. If my prayers flew into my mouth, yodean yishuv makubal. So then I know that it was accepted. V'im love, and if not, if the prayer was not fluent to my mouth, so yodean yishuv maturaf. I know that it was rejected. Yashvu, they sat down. V'kadvu v'chivnu oto sha'ah. They sat down and recorded the exact time when this happened. And when they came back to Rabbi Gamliel, and they told them about it, he said to them, "Havoda by the divine service, lo chisartem v'lo hitartem elakach hayamasa. You have neither detracted to nor added to the time of his recovery. It happened just so. At that very time, the fever left him, and he asked us for some water to drink." So we see that Rabbi Chanina ben Dos is not such a simple guy. Now let's get into this story, because it's a very beautiful story, and the concepts that come with it also. So the Eyn Yakov says, Amrulo, they asked him, how do you know that this fever has left him? So it says, Hachi Perusho. This is the explanation. Lefi Rabbi Chanina hayagadol b'daro. Rabbi Chanina was a giant in his generation. V'ragil itpalel al acherim, and he was used to davening for other people. So mistama hitpalel b'kavana. So it's obvious that he would pray with intent. And he didn't make a mistake in his prayers. That God forbid it should be a bad sign for his the one who sent him. So that's why they asked him, how do you know these things? So he has to be medayik, specific on the word you. Because you normally pray for people, and since you're normally doing it, you don't make mistakes. It's shagor b'piv. So he says, "Hey, you understand why? By the way, if you ever think about this, a person giving a misha berach, the real professional gabbai, not like we have here, but if you because none of us are trained gabbayim, if you will." But if you go to a shul where the gabbai has been the gabbai for 50 years, he doesn't look at the book anymore. He knows the Baal Peh, he knows it by heart, and he's rattling it off. It's shagor b'piv. It's so used to him. He doesn't look for anything. That's the guy who, imagine, that's the sort of person you're going to, who is constantly praying, he's constantly saying these things. It's shagor b'piv for him. So you're not making mistakes. It's not like one of us, we don't know what the word is, we have to look, we get lost, tongue-tied. It's not that sort of thing. We're not dealing with that. So the answer is, he answered some shop here. It's true, it's good. Even though I don't make the mistake but tefillati in my prayers. I have a different siman. If it comes out fluently, in other words, if I feel it going nicely, or not. So I have to. I know by the way I davened if it was easy or not. Basically, that's when it's going to be. If it's short, you should go b'piv. So we have two Talmidei Chacham who were sent to him. So Efshad Mishum Hachi Shagar Lo L'Shnei Talmidei Chacham Kidei Shitmechu Yada B'Tfila. It's possible that he sent his students. Why? In other words, the Eyn Yakov is asking, why did Rabban Gamliel not just send Rabban Gamliel? Yeah, why did Rabban Gamliel just? Why did he send two people? He should have went himself. You go to the doctor, you don't send a messenger. Go yourself. So he says, if possibly he sent them because they shouldn't be yadav b'tefillah, so that they could support him with tefillah, and so on and so forth. So Gabi Rabbi Chia uvanav k'dichtiv Aharon v'Chor tamchu yadav. As same as we see with Aaron and Chor when they were holding up the hands of Moshe Rabbeinu. So here Rabbi Chanina ben Dosa, maybe somebody has to support his hands. So he sends the two people so he can raise his hands in prayer, and so on, and that's it. Fine. So they said to him, "Are you a Navi?" And he said, "Neither me nor my father." Aval pi shehem sha'alu rak v'chi naviata. Even though they only asked him, "Are you a Navi?" Afilu hachi yeshiv lehem kalashon mikra ba'amus. Why did they asked him, "Are you a Navi?" So he said, "What should have been the answer? Are you a prophet?" What would be the answer? No. What do you have to say? Not only am I not a prophet, but my father wasn't a prophet either. I didn't ask about your father. I was insulting you. What do you pick on your father for? Throw him under the bus too. So what happens is the Eyn Yakov says he was answering according to the pasuk in the verse in Amos. The prophet Amos said, I'm not a prophet, nor my father a prophet." That sort of thing. Okay. So that's story number one. And we'll have to stop at story number one. Okay. Are there any questions so far? Because, like I said, it becomes very interesting as we go on. That was the first story. We're going to hear another story next week. Not next week. In 2 weeks from now. I won't be here next week. I will be visiting the President of the United States of America. Okay.